Hey everybody, welcome to Moment of Clarity. Thanks for joining. Thanks for being here. I got another great guest for you. Yesterday was Mike Preisner from the Empire Files. If you missed that, please go check it out. But not after you watch today's episode. I got Annelise Garcia here. Does an amazing show called The Annelise Show. I don't know where she got the name. But we are gonna have a great show. Gonna dig in a lot of things. Gonna dig into MPP and so much more. By the way, if you donate during this or donate on Venmo at Lee Camp, but if you donate in the super chat, all of those go to people in need. So all the donations will not go to me. They'll go on to others who are struggling. So feel free to do that. Take a minute to subscribe and share and all that good shit. Let's see if I'm live at Rockfin as well. All right, should be going at Rockfin any minute now. So let's dive into it. Here's Annelise Garcia.
Haley.
Hey.
I don't know how I came up with it either. I was just tossing and turning, going, God, what would be a good name? I can't possibly think.
I assume it was one of those dartboards at a newspaper kind of thing, right? You just
exactly.
Cool. You just had your. I was privileged to be on it. You just had your 100th episode. Congrats.
Yeah, it was really exciting. We did a 100-day special, and we went over the Biden administration, what they've accomplished so far. We had an amazing panel. We had you on. We had Steph Zamorano from the Jimmy Dore Show. We had Nick Brana from the People's Party, Caitlin Saposi-Belknap of Move to Amend, and Kit Cabello of Hard Lens Media. And it was probably, no offense to any other panels that I've had, but probably the most fun panel I've had because it was so big. And it was just...
the conclusion we came to was that Joe Biden is amazing and he's the new FDR. Everyone said, is that the conclusion you got?
And everything is the fault of the parliamentarian, and I don't understand why everybody can't just get that. And
parliamentarian, dude, he or she or who knows, because no one's ever heard of them. They have stopped fucking everything. They're always there, ready to stop it.
Yeah, it's amazing all the power that they have. And also Joe Manchin is our new president, so that's fun. And he gets to decide what we do. So, I just think these are really exciting times for our country, Lee. And I don't see how it could get better.
So I know you're a big supporter of MPP, or I guess it's just People's Party now. They've dropped the movement. It's just People's Party. But yeah, what do you? I've talked about the People's Party a lot. I've had Nick on plenty of times. What are you excited about for the People's Party?
Honestly, I'm excited for something new, for options. It's hilarious because we're like the most hardcore capitalist country, and we want like 37 flavors of everything except political parties. And so the way that
we've got 42 types of toothbrushes. You can get double-handled, twisty tie, but 2 political parties. Yeah,
it's too much. It's too much. So, and I tell capitalists, I'm like, capitalists, think of it as a free market for elections. Don't you want that? So I think it's time. Look, it has been clear that, and I think this is balances in 2 ways. On the one hand, I think it is completely on the progressives in Congress that they allowed themselves to be swayed from their original purpose, because at the end of the day, yes, there is a problem with the party structure, which I'm going to get into. That's the other part of it. But at the end of the day, there has to be some personal responsibility, right? So you can't say, I want to be one of the 500 most powerful people in the world, but the pressure, you got to be able to be one of those people who's able to withstand that pressure if you want to be in that position of power. And then on the other hand, you have the system of the duopoly, which is really a monopoly. Yeah. That is, it sucks everybody in. We saw videos of Nancy Pelosi in 93 talking about, Medicare for all. So it is clear that when you have weak people combined with a failed system, there's nothing but garbage in and garbage out. And it doesn't matter what good intentions they start with. At the end of the day, they realize, oh, I have healthcare and $175,000 salary a year. I don't want to lose this. and so they choose their careers over us.
Yeah, and I feel like it feels to me with someone like AOC that it really is the kind of, all she wanted at first was to get into Congress, but then it quickly became the presidential path. And on the presidential path, you don't speak out about U.S.-backed coups in Venezuela and around the world. You avoid those things like you wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. And so I think that's been the shift we've seen, is suddenly she realizes, oh, the presidency could be on the horizon for me if I just play my cards straight and don't stand up against the DNC and show them that I'm their guy, so to speak. It really feels like that's where things have gone.
100%. You hit the nail right on the head, because it is so obvious now that is her ultimate goal. You know what I mean? She's like, maybe I'll go after Schumer or I'll go after Cuomo, and then from there I can slide up to. So, it's very clear the career path that she's drawing for herself now. And that would have been a fine career path had she actually fought for us. Had she actually done the things that she said she was going to do. There's no way in hell I'm ever voting for that bitch, ever. Like, I can't, I'm sorry. I'm so done. And if she was a dude, I'd call him a bitch too. They're little bitches. Every progressive in Congress is a fucking bitch because they chose not being uncomfortable and their personal career over forcing the vote. And it wasn't enough that they didn't force the vote. Then she turns around and sends our hard-earned money to corporate Democrats that are actively fighting against Medicare for all. She can go suck a dick, eat a dick. I don't give a fuck, Lee.
I love it. Listen, as somebody who's staked their whole career on spitting fire, I love to see someone like you spitting fire. But what I was gonna say is not everybody.
For kids.
I know the Disneyland Cup. I know you've been talking about it, Jimmy Dore and some others, but not everybody knows that story. That basically she took, so many donations because she's just swimming in money. People donate to her; they're falling all over to donate to her, and she took some of that and has distributed it to kind of more mainstream, more centrist Democrats who are in competitive races, which is like, for those who donated to her, they donated to her because they thought, hey, this person's actually left wing. I'm going to donate to her. It turns out they were wrong, but that's what they thought. And then she goes and funnels that money through to corporate Democrats that she had earlier claimed she was going to help people primary.
Exactly. So she's full of shit. Like, I'm done. Like, her donating to corporate Democrats was the final straw for me. I was still trying to hold out hope before that. I was like, they're all just being stupid on the force to vote strategy and not seeing clearly. Now, I don't believe they're not seeing clearly anymore. It's not a mistake. They're not forgetting. They're making an active choice every day to choose their careers over Americans so they can go fuck themselves. I'm done. I'm 100% done. None of them had the balls to stand up for what was right. So why should we stand behind them now?
Yeah. Well said. It's something I wanted to ask you because, especially when it's the first time I'm kind of chatting with someone on here, and we've never gotten to meet in person either. What was your path to getting here? Because I know that, like, a lot of people, it's kind of like, and as it was for me, it's like you start to wake up. You're still thinking, certain kinds of Democrats can make a difference. In 2008, I had thought, Obama is different because he's getting all of his donations from small donors. It's not as much. Yes, it was still coming from corporate America, but it wasn't as much. His number one donor was small donors. So I thought that mattered. It turned out it didn't fucking matter at all. So you kind of need these like steps of, and not that there aren't those who are fucking prodigies and they're just come out of the womb and they get it all. But I'm wondering what your progression was.
Yeah. So my experience was a little, unique because I'm an immigrant. So I was born in Cuba and I came here when I was 7. And so I wasn't
alone. You were just like, I'm doing this.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure that I could infiltrate the U.S. with my commie ways.
But,
for me, I had a very rough growing up. So a lot of my life was about surviving. And I didn't really have time to pay attention to politics until I was older. And I wasn't even able to legally vote until 2016 because I didn't become a citizen until 2015. So obviously, when I first was able to vote, I took it as like, and I still do take it as, wow, this is amazing that I am able to do this, that I have the privilege to be able to make these choices. And I went for Bernie, of course, because it was amazing, right? But back then, I was still a Democrat, and I didn't realize that there was a difference between that there wasn't a difference, between the Democratic and Republican parties, because I was constantly told that the Republicans were evil and the Democrats were good, and if only those evil Republicans would get out of the way, we'd be able to accomplish everything.
And you hear what they're saying, so you see like Biden gave a speech the other night where he's talking about $15 minimum wage and healthcare is a human right. And you hear what these people are saying and you think, well, that is night and day, talking about climate change being a crisis. And you're like, that is night and day from the Republicans. These are two very different things. And then you start looking into actions.
Right. And so in the primary, I voted for Bernie. And then once it was down to Hillary and Trump, this is why I feel completely comfortable with my position now, because I already experienced the other end. I voted for Hillary because I was an idiot and naive. And I thought, the alternative is Trump and Hillary's a woman and it's going to be so. And it was the last 5 years, dude, it was so stupid. The last 5 years have been so transformational for me in understanding that all my life, these people have been placating me with identity politics, that all my life they've been placating me with these buzzwords that we want to hear so bad. I thought Obama was amazing until I found out what he actually did. Right. Like, it's insane because the media doesn't talk about it. And it started with TYT, which, like, I'm almost ashamed to say that now. But back then,
hey, I used to appear on TYT all the time. In fact, I
worked on his fucking campaign.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah, I was a special projects director. I'll get into that in a second.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll get to that. Like, but yeah, no, I have a TYT history too.
Dude, I have a TYT hoodie. Okay, like
that you wear all the time.
It's really comfy. Anna sold me on it. It had the whole thumb holes. What was I supposed to do?
I can't remember just the other day. I can't remember who it was. I heard someone say that they thought that after the election, they thought that after this election, after Trump was out, that Jank and TYT were gonna have an epiphany and come back to reason once they got Trump out of office. And it turns out not so much.
No, not at all. So I started watching TYT, and this was before Trump got elected. And I was like, and that, I do want to give them credit for opening my eyes to the fact that there were other spheres outside of just Democrat, Republican, and this is it, right? So they did open my eyes to a lot of stuff. And then Cenk ran in the district that I lived in, and I went to volunteer. And then all of a sudden they started opening positions, and I gave them my application, and they hired me as a special projects director. And I was also his body person, which means I was the person that went everywhere with him and made sure he got from place to place. Yeah, I spent a lot of time with Cenk. And he was a really nice guy, but the problem is that the reason I worked on his campaign was because I thought that when the time came, he would be the kind of person who would force the vote. Because that's what he fucking told us. He told us he was a fighter. He told us he was going to go in there and fuck shit up. And I was like, hell yeah. It was an amazing experience working on his campaign, even though it was a special election and it was very short. It was very emotional and it was a great experience, and I met a lot of amazing people. But I can't tell you how heartbroken I was, months later when I'm texting him about force the vote and he's against it. And then I realized, like, oh my God, if you had won your race, I would be sitting here still texting you and you wouldn't be doing shit. So it was a heartbreaker. It was a heartbreaker. And then from Cenk's campaign, I became the vice chair of our Revolution LA. I was elected as the vice chair there. And then, that led me to kind of, start hosting Your Revolution LA, which was a podcast. And then I kind of I was like, you know what? I want to do my own thing because I don't want to say I don't work well with others. I just want to say that I like to do things my way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of freedom in doing your own thing. So, I just decided I'm going to start my own show and see where it goes. And I just started it like November or December of last year, and it's already grown so much that YouTube felt the need to censor us.
There you go. That means you're making it. You're making
that's how I got here.
Well, that's definitely an interesting path. Yeah, that's cool. And now you're helping out with MPP. That's cool as well. Yeah. I mean, it just feels like I only put a certain amount of stake in electoral politics. I think it should be like 10% of our efforts, maybe on electoral politics if we want to create real change. However, of that 10%, I think the biggest factor is going to be a non-corporate third party that's not taking any corporate money and therefore can't be influenced in that way.
Yeah, and that's why when Nick asked me to become an advisory council member, I said yes, because at the end of the day, it's because I'm not some huge big shot that it's important for people like me to be in there. I'm just a regular person who's an immigrant, who has a 21-year-old severely autistic sister, who has a mother going through cancer. Like, this is just my life. Mm-hmm. And we need regular voices in there to kind of, make this look like a party that actually reflects America. And I think that whether or not there is an initial win, which, by the way, I think there can be, but whether or not there's an initial win with MPP, there's a lot to be said for the political pressure that a party like this puts on the entire system. And, it's important that we have options, because what we have here is not normal. In other countries, unless they're a dictatorship, in other countries, you have several parties to choose from. And so when you don't have several parties to choose from, it gives them the ability to pull this really neat trick that the Democrats pull all the time, and the Republicans, which is, you have to vote for me because the other guy's worse. And we talked on my show about how that's not a real fucking thing. That's not a real thing. You have to give me a policy. And I remember when I was running because I also ran for city council.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you about that too.
Yeah, I had to drop out of that because my mom was going through a divorce and she had to sell the home that we were living in. And so it's like, you have to live in that area for 4 years to keep the position. So I had to drop out. It was unfortunate. But I still got 3% of the vote with no canvassing and nothing but my candidate statement, which is amazing.
There you go.
So, but yeah, I mean, I think that we need to do these different things. I remember having this conversation with this woman who was a diehard Biden fan when I was running for city council. And I was like, okay, what policies of Biden's are you the most excited about? Like what? And she could not give me a single policy. She got angry at me. She got angry at me and called me a Trump lover. And she was like, it's not about policy. Obama trusted him, so I trust him. I was like, that is the most ignorant answer I've ever heard in my life.
Well, and what people will often say is they'll just give you they'll give you the policies that he says, they'll say, oh, he's doing something about climate change. It's like, is he?
Yeah.
Let's see what it is he's done, signed back on to the Paris Accord that meant nothing. Like, let's actually see what it is he does, because he was part of the Obama administration that laid more oil pipeline than any president ever had. So let's see what he does,
Yeah, and that's the amazing thing is these people have to do absolutely nothing and they get all this credit. They don't have to do anything. He's saying he's going to pull it out of Afghanistan. He's not. He's still going to leave, intelligence people there and contractors there. He's saying, oh, we're going to do some. It's kind of a heartbreaker when I see some Democrats, especially young Democrats, give him so much credit for the climate thing. Like, I understand that 2050 is something, but you guys understand it's supposed to be 2030. And he's going to be 20 years late to that game. And there's no telling the kind of destruction that we are going to face because of his lack of action. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting.
I mean, promises for 2050 are like promises are nothing, because even if they meant what they said, that can all be changed by a Republican president tomorrow or whatever. So it's like, and that's if they meant it. But chances are it's really just a way to get everyone to shut up. Oh, look at what I'm doing by 2050. Because that means you won't have to ask me about it for the next 4 years while I'm in office.
Yeah, if they're not even willing to give us a $15 minimum wage in 5 years when it should be 25 right now, get the fuck out of here. These people aren't doing anything. And the fact that he doesn't go out and say racist shit, somehow making him better. Like, no, he's still doing racist things. Okay, he's just not saying them.
Right.
There's still kids in cages in worse conditions, but we all know he's exceeding expectations, Lee, and he gets an A+. So I don't know what the fuck everyone's problem is, because he's amazing.
Yeah, I love that people think he's not racist because he doesn't say things outwardly racist. You don't hear reports of him calling other countries shithole countries like Trump did, but it's like, you got it. The policies are phenomenally racist. I mean, you know, pushing forward the largest increase in the prison population that America's ever seen. That crime bill was one of the most racist things that's ever been put forward. Our bombing is inherently a white supremacist bombing around the world. So, yeah, it's like you don't have to be running around saying racial epithets for it to be racist policy.
Not to mention that he called Black Americans super predators. Is everybody already forgotten about that?
Yeah, he and Hillary, right?
Yeah, it's. I don't understand. I just think the outrage is so selective. And the system is so broken that the only way that we're going to be able to build a future that is actually sustainable is with other parties. And by the way, I'm not just in favor of the People's Party. I'm in favor of having multiple parties because we deserve choice. Yeah. We deserve these people. Again, capitalists, think of it as a free market where they have to compete, okay, to get your vote. And so if we had just a small block of People's Party candidates in Congress that were people that were willing to force the vote, that were people that actually stood by their principles, think of how much of a difference that would make. There would be we only have 3 or 4 People's Party, we only have 5 People's Party candidates, so we can't do anything. We have to wait. No, it would be, we are withholding our vote on fucking everything until you give us what we want. Now fucking eat a dick. I don't care. I'm so tired. I'm so tired, Lee. I'm so fucking tired.
That's good. I like you when you're tired.
I
know. seems to make you angrier. So seeing as you're an immigrant, what's your stance on immigration? Should we just build bigger cages? Do you think that would help a little?
It might, especially if we get them like bunk beds. It would be really cute. We can put some stickers.
Yeah, stickers. Yeah.
No, I think it's disgusting. Look, I was talking to an immigration attorney last year to find out, because my aunt lives in Cuba, right? And I wanted to know, let's say I wanted to bring my aunt over here. How long would that process take? And I was told it would take 14 years. So that is your problem right there.
Wow.
Right there. Yeah, exactly. She's 61. She'd be probably dead by then. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. So when you have, here's the problem. We're putting all of this ridiculous money into things that we don't need and that aren't actually keeping us safer, like this incredibly blown up, military industrial complex budget. My friend John is an Air Force veteran. He has needed knee, hip, and shoulder surgery for the better part of 8 years, and the funds are never there. They're somehow never there. So I want people to start asking themselves, if you really love veterans, especially up here in the Antelope Valley where I live, where a huge portion of our homeless are veterans, it is disgusting and shameful. So if you love veterans, you need to start asking yourself, where is our defense budget going? Because it is not going to the troops. It is not going to the vets. Okay, you know where it's going? It's going to Raytheon. It's going to Boeing. Okay, that's who it's going to. So maybe we should stop wasting all this money on these giant corporations that are fucking us all over, and instead put that towards things that actually matter, like actually reforming in a humane way our immigration system, like giving everybody healthcare, like giving everybody an education, like giving everybody a living wage, a UBI. These are things that we need to do, and they're not going to happen until we stop allowing billionaires and corporate interests to control the American budget. Because the truth is, it's taxation without representation. And it's time for us. No wonder Republicans are pissed. I don't blame them. Where the fuck are their tax dollars going? Where are they going? So you know what? If you're going to tax us, you need to give us something in return for those taxes.
It's going to build $1 trillion F-35 jet that doesn't even fucking work.
Sexy.
That has been such a disaster that the Air Force is now asking for other jets because it's such a disaster that they're looking for different ones. It's like,
they're Mavericks.
$1 trillion on this thing, asshole.
They're Mavericks. They need them. What is a Maverick supposed to fly? lie, Lee. Okay. This is it.
Yeah. No, it's the military budget is it's just incredible. And then when they finally audited it a year ago for the first time in its history, the Pentagon just came forward and said, "Yeah, we failed our audit," and that was the end of it. It was like, "What do you mean you fucking failed it? Fucking tell us where the goddamn money's going." They're like, "We don't know."
Yeah, and that's the thing. They never know. It's amazing to me. We never have enough to pay our teachers. I know teachers. So there's a teacher called Aubrey Roadhouse, and she volunteered on Jenk's campaign and my campaign. And she's a fucking teacher that has to bring her own supplies to school, and she's not the only one. This is embarrassing. I mean,
and troops are buying their own fucking Kevlar and shit.
Bring your own gun, bring your own vest. It's amazing. And it's like, look, I don't mean to talk shit, but I can tell you that I only went to first grade in Cuba. And I know how to 100% fluently read, write, and speak Spanish. And they were teaching me math in first grade in Cuba that I didn't learn until third grade here.
Really?
Yes, it's fucking insane. Like, how is it possible that I know an entire language from just 1 year of school, but here it takes like 4 years of college and you still don't know French? It's like, what the fuck?
I know. I took Spanish for 5 years. I don't know it.
Nothing. So it's just our educational system's a mess. I'm tired of us saying we're the greatest country in the world. I said on my show that even the unemployment extension that was in the last stimulus package that was supposed to last through September, I still haven't gotten that extension. And it's been 2 months. And I talked to EDD, the unemployment department here in California. And just in California, they're saying millions of people are in the same position as me. So imagine across the country. This is so stupid, so ridiculous. We need a general strike. And I agree with you that electoral politics is not enough. It is an important part of it, but there has to be action by the people. We need like a fucking million-man march type shit. We need something serious and big.
Yeah. You gotta interrupt business as usual. I've been highlighting some of the stuff that Extinction Rebellion's doing because unlike so many other protests that are like a 1 hour little parade where people go, hey, and then they go home, Extinction Rebellion's been fucking interrupting business. You know, they've been breaking windows and interrupting traffic. And it's like, as long as business as usual goes on, then protest doesn't really change much.
Yeah, and that's why I'm also a big supporter of our brother Chris Smalls, because he does some amazing stuff when it comes to Amazon protests. And they've created a union now. He's amazing. And he's also part of the People's Party Advisory Council because he wants change. And I agree that we need to get all of these organizations together and put something huge on the books. And honestly, the DSA saying that they don't want to do live protests because it costs too much, eat another dick, okay? That is your whole fucking purpose.
Is that what they said?
Happen. And it's like the money. Then get the fuck out of business. Shut down.
How much does it cost to do live protests? What the fuck does that even mean? We don't want to build a paper mache float. What the fuck does that mean?
Too many water bottles. Water bottles.
Yeah.
It's insane. So it's like if you are unwilling to live out the purpose of your organization that is stated in your own fucking manual, get out of the way. Get the fuck out of the way so that we can do the work that needs to be done, because you're wasting my time. And you're helping, and the more time that you waste, the more people die. So these people just need to admit that they're not progressives, that they're just here to pretend that they want to do something and get some kind of admiration.
Well, they're here to funnel. They're here to funnel people who are more left-minded than the average Democrats, which, you know, the DNC, it's easy to be farther left than them. So they're here to take all those people that are like, hey, I'm more left than Nancy Pelosi, and funnel them back into the Democratic Party and say, oh, yeah, we know you're very left, but just come back into the Democratic Party. And that's what they do.
Yeah, that's totally what they do. It's just sheep herding. So we need to stop being sheep. We need to stop being sheep because the words that they say might be really nice, but we need to ask ourselves, what has happened to our quality of life over the last 40 to 50 years? And I'm asking people who are older than me, who were alive then, like, has your quality of life improved? Are you better off today than you were, 15 years ago? And most Americans will say no, they're drowning in debt. most of them before the pandemic didn't even have enough for a $400 emergency. And now it's even worse. And as soon as this moratorium on foreclosures and evictions is gone, get ready for another housing crisis. So how much longer, how many more decades are we going to have these politicians steal from us and spit in our face, and we're going to say, yes, thank you, please give me more? Like, have some fucking self-respect and stand up for yourself.
Damn straight. Last question. What's next for you? You going to keep doing the show? You going to run for something again? What's the plan?
No, fuck no. I'm so done, dude. I'm so done with this bullshit. Plus, I got to say, there's a freedom in media to just say whatever. You've seen my mouth at this point.
Yeah. No, you can't give us dumb speech like that. You know, you
can't say, tell Hillary Clinton to eat a dick.
Yeah. Rarely do you see banners like, someone for city hall, everyone else can eat a dick. It's very rare. Very rare.
Right. I don't know if it would have the right flow. So no, I'm not interested in running for office again. I think I've found my place in, I need you in my life too, Nolly. I think I've found my place in media. I think it gives me a lot of freedom to express myself and say all the crazy shit that I think. And definitely, I think I'm going to continue with the show. I've also been asked to become the co-host of the People's Party podcast. Cool. So I'll be doing that with Nick, on the weeks that my mom doesn't have chemo, because she's starting that now. And yeah, just continuing to be on the advisory council. Hopefully, as the year goes on, maybe I can, go on the road and do something either for my show or for the People's Party. I don't know. We'll see. But it would be, I've never done a road show, but I think it would be fun. And so that's something that I'm pondering, like, how would I do that? And who would I do it with?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
You gotta find some good guests.
Yeah. So yeah, there's gonna be more.
Damn straight. As someone who's toured for 20 years, I got some experience on that. So
yes, let's do this, Lee. Okay, I already told Graham that I'm gonna beat dissenters away with a fire hose at his show. Okay, so anybody who doesn't like what he's saying, I'm gonna be standing there with a fire hose, make sure the shit goes down. Okay,
nice.
So
nice.
Yeah, I'm prepared.
Cool. Where do people find your show?
Yes, you guys can go to Annelise.com. That's my website. There you can see our videos, find all of our links, and you can contribute to the show if you can. The main place I want people to go right now to watch my show is Rockfin. And the reason for that is that we were doing really well on YouTube, and we had Leon, and then YouTube canceled me. Like, terminated my account. Thanks a lot, Leon.
It was my fault. Graham's blaming me too.
So, yeah, because YouTube censored us, now I'm doing this thing where I did start a new YouTube account, but only like a few minutes of my live streams are going to air there, and then they're going to be turned off and then you can go to Rockfin and watch everything for free, and it's ad-free, so there's literally no reason to use Rockfin because it's free and ad-free, and if you signed up for the premium subscription, which is only $10 a month, you get access to all the premium content from all of your favorite lefties. Lee is on there, I'm on there, Graham is on there, Jimmy's on there, Status Quo, Hardlands Media, everybody's on there. So check out Rockfin. Let's fight back against YouTube censorship. Yeah,
people don't talk enough about the fact that it's ad-free, which, the ads on YouTube are getting aggressive. All right, well, thank you so much, Annelise. I appreciate it. I'll have you back soon.
Yay, anytime. Thank you so much, Lee. This was so much fun.
All right, later.
Bye.
Cool. That was Annelise Garcia. Hope you enjoyed it. Looks like from the comments you did. She's pretty incredible. I only first saw her stuff, I don't know, a few months ago, but like I said, she seems to be really spitting fire. So fuck yeah. I want to give you one more story before we wrap up here. If you got the time, do you have time to hang out with me for one more story? Let's see. So this is coming from Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, which does great work. I know that you may think that we're hearing a lot about climate change recently, a lot more than we used to, right? Biden throws it into a speech here and there, etc. But Fairness and Accuracy Reporting has looked at the Sunday shows, which the reason they've highlighted the Sunday shows is because those are the most watched and the most kind of prepared of mainstream media's news shows. Those are the ones where they really sit down and plan what they're doing. They usually get the biggest guests and that kind of shit. Whereas if you just flip on, CNN at any hour on a weekday, it's similar garbage, but they rarely are doing like pre-prepared packages. It's usually like, hey, this guy, got shot, so we're going to show you footage of him bleeding to death. Okay, so they analyze the Sunday shows, and they say in a year dominated by coverage of the pandemic, one might expect other topics to fall lower on the media's priority list, but the climate crisis has not lessened in intensity. On the contrary, the urgency of addressing it increases each year. You guys know that. Their failure to do so, the show's failure to do so, reached shocking levels last year. ABC's This Week, one of their top news shows, CBS's Face the Nation, and NBC's Meet the Press didn't ask a single question that mentioned the climate crisis, climate change, or the Green New Deal until more than 2/3 of the way through the year. This was the first one to ask such a question was on September 13th, when wildfires, which due to climate change are becoming more frequent and more intense, devastated the West Coast. And by the way, they think those wildfires will be even worse this year because, especially in California, because it is incredibly dry. According to their metrics, it's been incredibly dry. So likely the forest fires in California will be horrific again. Let's go back. CNN's State of the Union did little better, asking one tangential question earlier in the year in February to Republican Senator Joni Ernst about why she believed the Green New Deal and Medicare for All were socialism, but farm subsidies were not, which is only barely even really a question about climate change. That's more a question about like governmental policy. Because I imagine her answer did not address climate change. To continue quoting, its coverage of extreme weather beat the other networks by 2 weeks when it reported on Hurricane Laura in Louisiana. But even those, and they're not saying the Fairness and Accuracy Report is not saying this, but even those like reporting on a hurricane is, yes, it's climate change, but if we're going to actually do something about climate change, about the climate crisis, about the fucking environment collapsing around us, then it needs to not just be when there's an emergency. Them standing out in the middle of a storm and go, it's really windy out here. They got their hair, and they're holding on to some pole somewhere. And it's, just because people like to tune in and see a guy that's like clinging for life. I can't. Oh my God, it's crazy out here. Like that kind of shit is not really addressing climate change. And furthermore, you can watch those reports. I remember a year ago when some hurricane was hitting, and so I left CNN on for like half an hour to see kind of how they were covering it and how much they were mentioning climate change. They can go a half hour, multiple hours without actually saying the words climate change, climate crisis, any of that shit. They just say the wind speeds are picking up and people are floating by with their feet sticking out of the water. So I wouldn't even call that climate coverage unless they're making a concerted effort to say, hey, these fucking hurricanes are worse, they're stronger, they're more frequent because of climate change. Unless they're making that a clear statement, then it's not fucking climate coverage. Now, I get that Fairness, Accuracy, Reporting didn't want to try and differentiate exactly how the coverage was, but, just covering a hurricane might not actually matter, depending on how you're covering it. So Face the Nation asked only 2 questions referencing the climate crisis the entire year. In the first, CBS host Margaret Brennan challenged Oregon Governor Kate Brown's statement that the wildfires were a wake-up call for all of us, that we have got to do everything in our power to tackle climate change. Brennan responded, so who was this? CBS? This is CBS. Brennan said, Governor, I understand that's your conviction, but I know 4 former Oregon lawmakers have written an op-ed in the Washington Post saying you can't blame climate change. Instead, it's a failure of your state government to prepare, and that warnings were ignored regarding mismanagement of Oregon's forests. What is your response to that? Brennan presented climate disruption's role in wildfires as a mere conviction of her guest, not because there's scientific evidence that questioned the connection, but on the basis of an op-ed in the Washington Post written by Republican state representatives. So it sounds like that this interviewer was ignoring the fact that, guess what? It can be both. that a state government may not done a great job, let's say, dealing with forest fires. Maybe they didn't have the firefighters, correctly funded or trained or staffed or what have you to do their best against these type of things. And also, it could be that there are more fires, harsher fires, more larger fires because of climate change. So it can be both those things, but instead this interviewer sounds like she was acting like it's, what do you make of the fact that it's probably not climate change? It's because you didn't have 7 more firefighters out there. But, this whole article goes to show that the fact that they could go until September, these are the main news shows. These are the main mainstream media news shows. Go until mid-September without asking a question about climate change, without barely mentioning climate change is fucking insane. It's deadly. It's horrific. Part of the reason that I say the Democrats and Republicans are this one fucking party is because we're in the middle of a goddamn crisis in this world because of climate change, which is a climate crisis, which is causing environmental collapse on so many levels. It's causing an increased acidity in the oceans. It's causing islands to go underwater where lots of people live. It's causing millions upon millions of climate refugees that have already started moving around the world because they can't fucking live in their places. Many believe that the war in Syria, which, we obviously fostered by funding and arming fucking terrorists, but many believe it might not have even happened without climate change, because part of what caused such a furor, a fury, not talking about the Führer, not talking about Hitler at the moment, but partially what caused such a fury in Syria before the war started was there was like a water shortage, which caused a food shortage. I don't know why I'm tripping over all my words right now, but a food shortage because there was a drought. So it's like those type of things cause other ramifications. It's a domino effect. You end up with civil wars that are fucking horrific. You end up with millions of refugees that can't take care of their families, of their children. They got to get out of the places where they live. And it causes so much death and destruction. And that's even before we're in the midst of the worst of it. And part of the reason I say these two parties are both garbage is because neither of them has done shit about this. And yet here you have the mainstream media. This is not Fox News, which acts like climate change is fake or whatever. This is fucking the other side of things. This is CBS, NBC, ABC saying that, not saying anything about climate change until there's 2 questions asked in September. That's of last year. I mean, it's truly incredible. It shows how because something that came up in that Annelise mentioned at the end of the interview was that the channels are getting censored because of what they're covering, and she made the point that they got suppressed or censored or something right after I came on her show, and also Graham Elwood got demonetized after he and I started doing government secrets, and I did a 3-part segment on the assassination of JFK. So apparently I'm just accidentally going around wreaking havoc to channels because I talk about real shit, and apparently it hurts their channels. I've been suppressed for years, so I'm not even, I don't even hardly bring it up that I can't get fucking 12 people to view a YouTube video because I've been heavily suppressed for years. But anyway, what was my point? My point was that yes, I am talking about things that are not allowed on many channels, that get people suppressed, that get people censored. I talk about them, endlessly. And one of those things is merely continually bringing up and continually discussing and continually raising the alarm about climate change and about the climate crisis. It has become common knowledge that people understand it's happening. Like, yes, whatever the polls are, if you poll Americans, 70% believe it's happening. Even many Republicans are like, I live on a farm and shit's fucked up. We can't get any water. The shit's not growing. Like, there's a lot of Republicans that understand climate change is happening. So, but here's the thing. You have 70% of the country realizing it's going on. And yet you have these mainstream media garbage outlets that still aren't doing a good job of covering it. Still are sitting there with the thumbs up their asses, acting like this shouldn't be what we're talking about every goddamn day. Because it's bad, it's bad for capitalism, right? It's bad for the two-party system because neither of them are doing anything about it. So you can't talk, they like NBC or something can't talk about it without kind of ringing an alarm bell. Well, I haven't seen Democrats do that much about it either. So it's bad for the Democrats and of course the Republicans who fucking act like it's not happening. It's bad for the capitalist system because this is not something that capitalism can deal with easily. You have to spend money to protect our society, to change things. And capitalism says, no, you only spend money if you're going to make short-term profit. Now, here's the thing, is there's a lot of long-term profit in stopping climate change, right? Because the world will still exist. A lot of long-term profit there. There's a shitload of long-term profit if we keep the world going. There's a lot of long-term profit, but capitalism doesn't give a shit about long-term profit. It's all about right now. It's all about how many millions can we make in the next month, and fucking, telling everybody that, hey, we need to switch to more public transportation, and we need to not all buy things every 3 minutes and throw them out every 2 minutes. Saying things like that, not good for capitalism, not good for consumerism. So your mainstream media still doesn't really want to talk about these issues. I mean, it's amazing. There was one more point of this article I wanted to close with here. This is the end of the article. Meanwhile, the industry. So this is big oil. Few got the. Okay, only 12 questions were asked on the Sunday shows all year that even touched on emissions or the oil and gas industry. 12 questions. And none mentioned agriculture, which is the number one cause of global emissions, is agriculture. None of them mentioned agriculture, deforestation, or capitalism more generally. Of those 12 questions that were asked, few got the national conversation closer to where it needs to be, instead asking about such things as whether Biden's goal of net zero emissions by 2050 was realistic, that was ABC, or the impact of his stance on oil and gas on voters, that was CNN. Fox News, I don't know why they put Fox News there. On ABC, I guess they also asked that question. On ABC, Martha Raddatz asked the Democratic strategist Rahm Emanuel whether Biden's promise in one of the presidential debates to transition away from oil and gas made him cringe a little bit. Meanwhile, the industry, meaning the oil and gas industry, didn't reduce its own media output during the pandemic. In fact, it increased it. The American Petroleum Institute, the largest industry lobbying group, spent over $3 million on TV ads, a 51% increase from the year before, falsely touting natural gas as a clean energy. These ads aired during almost the exact same period that most of the Sunday shows were completely silent on climate change. Did you catch that? Big Oil increased their ad buys last year, touting big oil by 51%. So this shit is not going away. It's not decreasing. And it goes to show that these oil companies, these oil and gas companies, natural gas, which never use that term because it's a fucking natural gas, all right? It's fucking killing the planet. Yeah, you're fucking, throwing your shit at someone might be natural if you look at what baboons are up to, but that doesn't mean it's something you should be doing every day. It's really not cool of you. So fuck this shit natural. You know what else is natural? Fires. Fires are natural. I mean, we should burn down the town and go, oh, look, natural fires. So the oil and gas spent more on than the year before, increased by 51%, telling everybody that natural gas is somehow, climate change friendly, environment friendly, lower emissions. Fuck you. No, it's not. You're killing the goddamn planet. Like aggressively, not like killing it by 2050. Like we are seeing collapses now. And my video won't be shown to very many people because of this topic and others like it. Other channels are getting censored and suppressed and stopped because they might talk about climate change. I mean, honestly, like we act like, so like Graham's channel was demonetized right after we covered how the CIA assassinated JFK. That people understand, like even today, if you most of you out there, if you talk to people, they go, oh, that's that's understandable. Like most people don't know that or understand that about the JFK assassination, and hearing such a thing terrifies them, and they go, oh, you're Looney Tunes. But with climate change, if you ask your average American, most Americans say, oh yeah, it's happening. It's happening. And yes, humans have an impact on it. That's most Americans would say that. Yet that topic is still largely suppressed. It's like one or two questions at the debates. It's, a little coverage on CNN. It's a tiny factor of what they actually report on. Think about that. CNN has 24 hours a day to spit their shit. And they asked, fucking 5 questions about climate change. 24 hours a day. Multiple, I'm not going to do that math in my head, but 24 times 365, I have no idea what that is, but it's a lot. That's what they had, and they asked, 10 questions about climate change. That's amazing. I should do the calculation and find out what percent of CNN coverage that would be is about climate change. But anyway, that's what I got for you today, guys. If you did donate, all of the donations go to those in need, those who need a little help. If you are someone who needs a little help, email commentcensor@protonmail.com. We're not talking about thousands of dollars, unfortunately. I'd love to do that, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, $50 or $80. And that's where all these donations go. It's kind of a solidarity fund. We will have another live stream with Eleanor Goldfield coming up on Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. The new Redacted Nice, check that out if you haven't already. LeeCamp.com, you can get that there. And Eleanor Goldfield's new album just dropped. It's called No Solo. It's at artkillingapathy.com. And if you are a member at our membership page, liberapay.com/LeeCamp. If you're a member there, I think it's like at the $3 tier, then to get your free album, which you get a free digital copy of Eleanor's album, you have to email us because everything on LiberaPay is anonymous. So we actually can't send you the album unless you email us. So liberapay.com/LeeCamp. And if you need to collect the album, email commentcensor@protonmail.com. All right, guys, that's it. Keep fighting.